Right, sons, brick fans, and off the back of last week's effort building the first order base, we are going to be jumping over onto the back to build the courtyard with this swanky vaporator, some really cool droid repair area, and also the start of the new Spire and some tiling to go with it. Of course, remember to leave any comments that you have about today's episode down below. If you enjoy it, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe and notifications bell so you don't miss any content coming up. Alright, I'm Brickmad Sam, and this is Building Batuu. Last week, I smashed out the new first order base after destroying the old one. Thankfully, I did manage to find it a new home on this luscious Scarif MOC that I built last week for Star Wars Factions. And this week, I'm going to be working on this back section here, including replacing these tiles and adding in the start of a spire to the gap in the building, and then finishing up with this really cool evaporator and courtyard section. So jumping straight in, I'm going to remove these tiles. They looked pretty cool, but just to keep it a little bit more like a paved path, which is similar to what you can see in the front of the first order base, and that will just flow right the way through. Now that all the tiles have been cleared up, it's time to jump over to the brick wall and start pulling out some of my light bluish grey tiles and a few other bits and pieces to get this pathway done. So for this one, I'm going to need some 2x2 light bluish grey tiles, and also some dark tan and a few of these smaller 1x1 rounds and tiles as well. Laying these down, the idea is to create a nice cobbled looking path that will connect up with the tiles on Savvy's workshop and also from the droid depot. This pathway will then lead over to the center of the courtyard where the vaporator will be. This really cool sort of vaporator that has all these sort of strings and material and lights and everything. The material lights will be coming a little bit later, but today we're going to be working on building the actual vaporator itself. So these tiles are going to work its way all the way over to the middle section here, and then I've also got some of these nougat wedges, so I'm going to and some dark orange plates as well, so I'm going to continue that around the sides just to kind of give it a little bit of a nice contact point against some of the buildings, and I think that will kind of marry it up with the center of the build where we've got this sort of nice looking nougat in there. Now over in this corner, I'm actually going to be putting a section of the courtyard where there's a whole bunch of old parts and some droid repair areas and things. So I'm putting this section in, and plus I've also started to build up the external wall as well. So you'll see that one here, bring it to a certain completion, and here you are looking across the entirety of the tiles and also the start of that wall. Moving on now to the gap, this big gap in the building. We're going to be filling this one up with a hefty kind of spiffy looking spire here. So like you can see throughout Batuu, but I wanted to have a slightly different look from what I've done previously with the black spire, which had a lot of kind of black elements and was a little bit more craggy and a bit different. I wanted all of the rest of the spires in Batuu to have this nice kind of smoothed feel to them. So I'm going to be working on that, which means that I'm going to be using less of the 2x5 higher slopes. I'm actually going to be moving towards more of the wedge, the sort of curved wedge pieces, and I think that will give me a nice interlocking sort of feel across all of the spires. Now for the colors, so I did actually think that I may start moving towards a light bluish grey, but I think what I'm going to do is keep it at the dark bluish grey and actually introduce pieces of the dark tan, which you can actually see throughout some of the rockworks in Batuu. So yeah, I'm going to mostly keep it in the light dark bluish grey and the dark tan, with occasional little patches of the light bluish grey and possibly even some brown in there, because these rock spires are actually not rocks, they are petrified purified woods after all, which is actually a big feature of Batuu and why they don't necessarily look like rocks. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be putting in to Batuu from now on. So I'm going to be keeping that in mind for sure. And some of the descriptions I've seen and some of the pictures that I've taken, there are a real vast array of different colors in these rocks anyway. So I think it should work out that I can kind of have that little range in there. And this is how far I got before I ran out of pieces, unfortunately. But I think the start of the Spire is looking really, really good. As well, the extension to that wall over near the droid repair bay, which is where I will actually be starting the next part of today's build. And really start to get all of the other little bits of detail and the droids and the other bits of tools and things and the power boxes into this section of the build. To start off with, I created this cool little minifigure sized probe droid for the hanging probe droid section. Then I nicked this net off my UCS Ewok village, and what I decided to do was then basically put the probe droid inside the net and then hang it from this hook that I had very strategically placed on the wall. Obviously making sure that I hooked each of the corners onto the net so it hung in place. And then all I had to do was add in a power box, a droid repair area with some goggles, and of course, what would a droid repair area be without a busted battle droid and some swanky new railings, and voila, there you go. The wall is finished with all of the repair area. I think this is looking really good. And now it's time to jump over into the building of the vaporator finally. And this one came together pretty well. I really enjoy making these type of builds, just kind of putting lots of nice rounded pieces together in different textures to complete the look of the area. And I think this works really, really well. It's turned out exactly as I'd hoped. And I'm really looking forward to building this out more and adding in some of the extra pieces of fabric from the vaporator. But as far as this week goes, Brick fans, that wraps it up. We've made some really great progress and I look forward to continuing it. Next week, I will be concentrating all of my firepower on the TIE Echelon fighter, and I will be creating it starting from Kylo Ren's shuttle. We will be chucking out the instructions of that one and using all of the remaining pieces to build it. So that will be a fun challenge, which I'll be doing next week, and I look forward to bringing it to you. If you enjoyed today's video, Brick fans, please give me a like. And of course, as always, if you have not already, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any content coming up. And until next time, till the Spire, and may the bricks be with you.